Gobble, gobble, everybody.
I hope that you have food in front of you when you listen to this, because I wish that I had food in front of me when we were recording it.
I know. I wish I had
because it made me very hungry.
A full turkey dinner.
Trimmings.
Trimmings. Stuffins, fixins. MacGuffins. Doc McStuffins.
Chekhov's gun. I wish we were eating Chekhov's gun. Yeah.
I wish we had some sort of a ticking clock also that I could munch on.
A cat I could not kick.
Don't kick the cat.
Kick the cat.
The famous screenwriting book, Kick the Cat.
Yeah, Kick the Cat.
But that's because in this special virtual field trip to a virtual location, we are talking with Katherine Spiers of the How to Eat LA website and the Smart Mouth Food Podcast, but mostly How to Eat LA. We're talking with her about food.
Can you believe it?
In Los Angeles. Can't you ever believe it?
It's Daniel's dream. I was watching you. You didn't see it, but she was talking about places to eat in LA, and you were like wiping drool off your mouth. You're just like, yeah. And what if these Korean barbecues?
And are they open now? So we were talking with Katherine Spiers about, because her website, as you'll learn, is about restaurants and just food history in LA. So we figured it would be a good time in this most hungry of months to talk to her about different places, her opinions on food in Los Angeles. I try to weasel out what she thinks is the worst restaurant in Los Angeles. She was very diplomatic about it.
You were trying to weasel out if she gets free food everywhere she goes. I could feel it. What a pointed question. Almost stabbed me in the ear listening to.
I was trying to weasel out what her social security number is, but she's a professional and she would only give me her VIN number.
Yeah. The last four of her VIN number.
Yeah.
I love that you're constantly testing professionals to see how much integrity they have. Bend the rules for me. Come on, tell me how you bend the rules.
All right, you've passed the test.
And her blog also has a lot of Columbo. So any LA Columbo fans out there who also are curious about everywhere he's investigating, and in the background there's a burger place. If you're like any one of us, go read her blog because it covers some of that.
Yeah, you talked to me about, Daniel wants to know about how much free food she gets. You're the one who wants how much Columbo can she get? Like anytime Columbo comes up, that's what you pounce.
Oh, and one more thing.
Me on free food.
Me on a bag of trash of food. It was a great interview, and I'm really happy that we got to sit and talk to her. She has a great podcast and the blog. Anybody who is like Daniel and loves food in LA is going to love, because this is like perfect for you, for the Daniels out there.
It really is. It's recommendations of food in Los Angeles. It's history of food in Los Angeles, and it's also just food in Los Angeles. It's my three favorite things.
It's something you swear is like a tri-Venn diagram, but it's really just one circle. And you swear it's
three different things, and you wouldn't understand.
Yeah, you don't eat. I wanted to say at some point, because both of you were talking about food and taste, and I wanted to just chime in and say, like, I eat like a dog. Like, is it food on a plate? Oh, it's good because it's food on a plate.
Has it been microwaved for 5 minutes so that it feels like a fresh kill? Then I'll eat it.
Ooh, this macaroni and cheese's heart is still beating. So you know it's good.
But yeah, I think if you are in the food mindset for this holiday, which I know you are right now as this comes out, I think you'll enjoy listening to this as you're trimming the tree, which is the asparagus.
Oh, right.
Trimming the asparagus.
Sure.
I got confused of what holiday it was.
Yeah, you did.
As you're stuffing your pies.
That's it.
I got it wrong again. As you're carving up the potatoes. I don't know. I don't know what we do on this holiday.
Does turkey come in a can? And why is it hard? I don't know. I don't know these things.
As you're plopping your canned turkey onto the platter for your family to eat like ravenous dogs. I think you'll enjoy listening to this.
Yes.
So here is our little interview with Katherine Spiers of How to Eat LA. And here it is. Gobble, gobble, everybody. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Have a good Thanksgiving. I hope that you're the turkey that's pardoned this year.
Yeah. I hope that you also are not called a turkey in front of all your relatives.
That would hurt. There's no coming back from that.
Yeah. That would be a sick burn. And then your skin would be really crispy and then your family would want to eat you. So here's the interview.
Bye.
Bye.
I've seen Columbo. Okay, he'll figure it out. Been like, oh, the bells in the background. Oh, the
Columbo
mileage.
can't help you now.
No, he can. He was always so eager to learn about new technologies like
He was.
VCRs. Yeah, I've been going on a Columbo, not even rewatch because I've never watched it before.
Just watch.
Yeah, just a watch.
Yeah, just to watch. I've done
Yeah.
the same thing. I started this year watching all the Columbos, and they're fantastic.
Yeah, I love him. I love him so much. I love how it's like such a socialist show. It's like, well, the rich person did it. That you can be sure of.
Someone in Hollywood did it. I'm gonna go ahead and say a Hollywood actor did it, or a producer.
It's always producers.
It's always
Don't trust producers.
I was going through your blog, and you seem to do a similar thing that I'm always interested in. Where like he'll park in the valley to go somewhere. I'm like, what's that? What's that eatery? What's that burger stand? What's that
I
paint
have
store?
to. I have
yeah,
to. I
it's
must
so
be just
cool.
a delight to watch television with because I'm like, pause. What is that?
Is that Van Nuys Boulevard?
Yeah.
I need to go down a 30-minute rabbit hole of trying to figure out what was at this intersection in 1974.
Yeah, I do it. So now I just like take notes and look at it afterwards, and have actually turned it into like a recurring feature on how to eat LA because it's just like such an easy in because they used real locations, but then sometimes they'd use real locations but as something else. I think that's neat too.
Yeah, that's also very neat. Yeah, they had a restaurant that was they had a name drop the restaurant, so I had to call it something else. I forgot which one it was. It might have been with Donald Pleasance, maybe.
Well, they name dropped Chasen's a lot.
Right, Chasen's. Yeah,
Chasen's was clearly the place to be because like a few times a season it's like, ooh, Chasen's. We get it.
The official restaurant of Columbo.
Yeah.
Columbo's just a Chasen's commercial. You don't
Yeah,
realize
yeah,
it.
exactly,
It's a half hour.
exactly.
Well, he's chasing the criminal, isn't he?
Hey.
How do I turn this off? I don't. Which one
I
is
have
off?
the power. You can. I am the host now.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I've got a whole jumble of notes of things to ask you, and I now just wrote down something about the valley to remember to ask you. So
Okay.
He just wrote down Valley, and he's
Yeah,
gonna hope he knows what that
No.
means in 20 minutes.
I wrote down valley person ?
The pronouns on Valley Girl have changed. It's now Valley Person. You're a Valley Person.
Fair,
now.
fair, because the Valley accent knows no gender. I think we want to be clear on that. Boys can be a Valley girl too.
Absolutely.
Finally.
Yes. Yes.
We're in the club.
I'm going to start right at the beginning. Catherine, who are you and how long have you lived in LA? A classic question we ask people.
My name is Katherine Spiers. I am a journalist, although what that means changes day to day. And I have lived in LA. It will be 20 years in April.
Wow.
Where are you from?
Well,
Orange
I
County.
was
Slightly, just outside of LA.
no, so I'm like West Coast for life. I was born in San Francisco. I mostly grew up in Seattle. I went to college in Santa Barbara, and then I moved here right after college.
You've seen all kinds of the Pacific.
I have, although, I hadn't been to Vancouver or Portland until like 3 years ago.
I know. I was going to say you're suspiciously avoiding Washington or not Washington? No, Oregon. Oregon. That's the one. Whatever.
Yeah. Since then, I have been to Portland twice and I love it. Maybe not to live there, but to visit. Ooh, fun
Yeah.
place to visit. So yeah, highly recommended. Easier to visit than Los Angeles. I think that's such a truism about LA. I love living here. Visiting here must be a nightmare.
I can't imagine. But also, we're 2 minutes in and we're already promoting a different state.
Everyone go to Portland.
Okay, so now the question I jotted down before we officially recording.
Officially.
Valley person ?
I'm going to say yes. I've never lived there, but I don't think that should stop me. I really like, maybe I'm kind of like I love an underdog type thing. I know a lot of rich people live in the Valley, so that kind of takes away from its underdogness, but people really clown on it as if it has no culture. But we were talking about Valley Girls earlier. I think it the Valley set the culture for the 80s. So it has that.
We just did an episode on malls this month and we talked about the Sherman Oaks Galleria, and it's so weird that at Sepulveda and Ventura, like a cultural movement started.
Exactly.
Whether or not that was a good movement, I don't know.
And it sounds like it makes the Valley sound, again, like it's all at least middle class people, but the dive bars in the Valley, none better. It's the best place for a dive bar. Yeah.
Even Greg, who goes out of his way to trash the Valley, to me, born and raised in the Valley, he is obsessed with Valley dive bars.
I am. My favorite bar in all of LA County is in the Valley. I can't say what it is or else it'll ruin it. For everybody. I'll
right.
message you later.
Barney's Beanery.
Did you guys read, maybe you guys already talked about this on the show, about how Barney's Beanery is like the cool place again for the young people?
I saw like an article about that, but then I kept thinking like, you know how bigoted they were in like the 70s, right, everybody?
They do not. These children do not know that. I'm convinced of it. I was also like, I know you don't care about my 41-year-old opinion, but dork-ass dorks. Barney's Beanery. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, everybody cool hangs out at Dave and Buster's, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Ding, ding, ding.
I went to a Dave and that's a lie. I went to a Barney's Beanery not too long ago. And I could not keep a conversation going because I kept looking at these cutouts of magazines from the early 2000s. And I thought, this is the worst place for me to be because I'm just like, Gwyneth Paltrow? When is that picture? Is that 2001 or 2009? I don't know. And like, I just could not hold information when I'm around that much nostalgia.
It's sensory overload.
Yeah, it's sensory overload. It's ridiculous.
They have like license plates everywhere, right? They're one of those sorts of places?
I think so.
Can't remember.
Yeah, me neither.
I guess I rooted out who's not cool.
I've only been there once because I'm not a dork ass.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I didn't memorize every license plate number in Barney's Beanery.
You're running them like a cop. This isn't a Barney's Beanery podcast, I swear, but which one did you go to? Because it matters.
West Hollywood.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's the original one, right?
That's the history one.
Yeah. Okay, that's the history.
The racist one?
Yeah, that's it. Oh, you remember.
Well, the Barney's Beanery Burbank, no bad history there at all.
Surely not, yeah.
So how did you get into food, LA food, food in general, and then LA food?
Okay, so growing up, I sort of knew really early on for some reason that I wanted to be like a journalist, but specifically like the cultural type of journalist. I didn't want to go to war zones or anything like that. My grandma started getting me a subscription to Traveler magazine when I was 8 years old, and she would just renew it every year. So that's what I wanted to do, like travel, food. And then I graduated from college in 2004, right as the industry was like, what? And all I wanted in life was to be a features editor at a glossy magazine. That is a job that exists for like 3 people on the planet now, like as full-time employment. So I started writing for what at the time was a new website called Grid Skipper, which was part of the Gawker family. There was a while when Gawker was like, we're going to do it all. And they started Grid Skipper, and I applied to write for them, like LA dispatches. And I did that for a few years and moved up to like LA editor, which was a position they just sort of, I was like, can I be this? And they were like, yep. So
that's a government elected position, isn't it? LA editor.
Yeah. So obviously, like writing about food, you still have to, well, you might have to pay for your food, depending. That's another discussion. But it's a lot easier to be a food writer than a travel writer if you're like buying your own stuff. So food it is. I mean, if I could go back to like the early 90s when I was actually a child, but like, you know, had I been an adult, I totally would have been living in New York, like getting paid $6,000 to write a 1,000-word piece twice a month. Like, ugh, it makes me so upset when I think about it.
If they just pulled my birth back just a little bit, I could have made that work. Yeah, just a touch.
Yeah, exactly.
So, because I'm torn between 2 questions I want to ask you. Let me ask the one that directly affects my life. When you do food writing articles and you go to a restaurant, what do you like? Do you eat everything? Like, what do you eat at one of these places?
So it sort of depends, and it has depended everywhere I've worked and what my like goal was. So for instance, with How to Eat LA, which is my own website, I set the rule that I have like, I do these like roundups once a week. And for in those roundup, I don't want to say roundup because that's such a, I don't know, yucky term, but like I'll do like mini reviews in one article. For those things, I feel like I have to try 2 or 3 things on the menu. And those are easier because I can be like, there's this restaurant, here's one thing that's really good. I'm not talking about the rest of the restaurant, but if you want this is the place to get it. Whereas for full length reviews, I feel that I got to do it old school and go to the restaurant at least 3 times and order a bunch of stuff each time I go. So that's good. That's kind of like a good thing for anybody to do because you're going to necessarily order things that you wouldn't have ordered anyway.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, try something new. Why not? You might love it. So
I feel so bad because whenever Greg knows this, whenever I go to a place, I almost go out of my way to order something that sounds weird because I feel like, well, this is probably unique to this place. But then if I don't like it, and then I by association, I'm like, well, I'm not coming back to this place. I feel like, well, maybe everything else was good except what I got.
I know, it's really hard. And that is one thing too about like, if you approach restaurant going from like a critic's point of view, learning the difference between I do not like this versus this is bad.
Right.
Like I know what ingredients I don't like. I gotta like think beyond that.
Yeah, I can't separate that. What I like is what everybody likes.
Right, of course.
That's how
I
go into things. So you used to be the food editor for LA Weekly, or
correct? Yeah.
Is that something you're allowed to talk about with everything that's happened to LA Weekly?
Yeah, it's not like they had the wherewithal to make us sign NDAs or anything like that. They were like, be gone. Okay.
Also buy marijuana.
Right. Yeah. So please.
How is that whole experience?
That was really hard even before Horrible People bought it. That they just... it really frustrates me because LA Weekly, obviously, it was started in the 70s. So this was before the era of the idea that you should start a newspaper to make a shit ton of money, which is what all the venture capitalists have done. And it's like every journalist in the world is like, what gave you that idea? Like, no one's ever gotten rich except Hearst. One exception. Like, stop thinking you're him. So that was a really hard place to be because it was so understaffed and I was so underpaid. They had my job listed as a 35-hour-a-week job, and they were paying me $35K a year, which is not livable in Los Angeles. So I had to have side jobs, so I was exhausted all the time. Just a horrible situation. Yeah. Having said that, though, it's not like when the new owners bought it, we were like, ooh, maybe it'll change. Because first of all, they were like, these are the owners, here's who they are. And we were like, oh no. And then also they just like fired us so quickly that there wasn't any time. We didn't meet any of them or anything like that.
Oh, great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Processing time is very small on that one.
Yeah, exactly. So it was sad even. I mean, I know that I was there for like a relatively short time and also like at the tail end of the glory days. Some would say the glory days were already long over. Plus, like just the fact that Jonathan Gold had worked there before and he hadn't been in my role, but he was still Jonathan Gold. So it was like, oh God, like this is where he made his name, I think, more than the LA Times. And it was just knowing we also had to like meet quotas. So it was like just put any old shit up there, which was just so defeating.
Yeah.
So
we're going to review Ruffalo's Pizza today.
Yeah. I mean, and not even just like it was all about metrics. So you know how easy it is to like find a video somewhere. I kind of do this on How to Eat LA too. Find a video and just be like, whoa, look at this old video. And everyone's like, click, click, click. Like it's such a cheat, but none of the executives cared, you know?
Well, because there was, and this is going to transition to talking about your website, but there was a time where LA Weekly was like, I would read it to like, oh, I should go to this place. I should, this sounds like a good restaurant to eat because it's in LA Weekly. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was eating marijuana nonstop because they told me to.
I know. It's so hard. And I know like I was doing my best. I was also like not aware of being mentally ill. And like after LA Weekly, I went to therapy and started getting medicated. And I was like, oh, life is so much easier with this. But that's like a me issue. And like Besha, who was the full-time food critic, she was doing a great job, but it's also, it was like the industry's terrible. It's terrible.
But now your website, I'm going to say, is filling the void. Tell us about your website now, please.
Thank you for saying that. That is certainly my goal, but it's kind of evolved even in like the very short time that I've been doing it. So basically what happened is the past few years I've been freelancing. I've been running a small media company. I've been doing Smart Mouth, which is food history. And I sometimes get frustrated because I see that the people who do really well as independent food journalists, it's always like the cooking of the food. And I'm like, that's not my, like, I want to know the history of the things and the why. And I just think that that's super niche. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I am understanding and accepting that what I do is super niche. I have a super dedicated audience that's not going to get huge. And then I was like, just sort of, I don't know, reading the LA Times or something. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, LA only has one full-time restaurant critic? That's stupid. This is like such a big city, and it is so specifically a food-obsessed city. And it's Bill Addison at the LA Times, who I think is the only person who has that job title. And also, there's not a lot of even independent food media that's like, this is a person who like has trained and is being really thoughtful and is old school. And I consider myself like the youngest of the old school journalists. So I like try and do things old school. So my thought was like, well, fuck, like I'll be a restaurant critic too. Like no one's stopping me from being like, I'm a restaurant critic, because Bill is really good, but he can't do it all. He's just one person.
Yeah, this is describing crime fighters in the big scary city.
That's what we are. Truly,
Yeah.
we are so brave. So yeah, like I thought that's what I would do, and I'm posting How to Eat LA at least once a week, if not twice, but I can't move away from the history stuff. Yeah. So that's why I keep doing these, like, look at where Columbo went, and like, look at this old commercial I found for like Sushi Gen. What does it mean about sushi in Los Angeles? Yeah. And the other thing about journalism too is that journalists all of a sudden were like, when our readership was available to us online, it's like our bosses were like, look how many clicks that story got, do that again. So I have access to that information too. I shouldn't, because I should just be doing what I set out to do. But I'm like, damn, the history people have found me again. And like, I want to write for them, but that's not what I meant to do. So long way of saying I'm working on it, but I think it's evolving.
Yeah, it's, tell me about these history lovers. They won't leave us alone. We're trying to get the Barney's Beanery crowd to listen to this show, but we keep getting these history dorks listening.
It's a problem.
The map you've created on your website is intense, and I think it's a wonderful thing you've done. And I'm kind of curious about how you started that and the kind of germ of that idea, or if you thought you could tackle it all by yourself.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know that they're like, my eyes are bigger than my stomach. What is like, my eyes are bigger than my brain or something? I was like, I can do it all. So we do have a map on How to Eat LA, which so far is like points for all the restaurants that I have talked about. And by the way, I only talk about restaurants positively. So it's like, if it's on the map, here's a place that you will enjoy, I think. We're actually working on like a customized map, so we'll be able to like color code it by neighborhood, by type of food, that sort of thing. But yeah, the map was just like kind of a concession to the way that modern food writing is done. I just said I was old school, but I also know that like Eater's bread and butter is its maps. Like people like maps. They want to look at points and click on them. So I was like, I can do that. So another work in progress, but I'm really glad we did it. And I do think that it'll be like, when I have it all color coded and pretty, exactly how I want, which is coming soon. I think that'll be like a real draw. Maybe that'll get some of the like food nerds as opposed to history nerds back in.
Food nerds and map nerds are the same nerds.
Oh, that makes sense. That does make sense. Yeah.
It's the comedy and tragedy mask of food people. Yeah, maps. I mean, I admit that when I see those Eater LA or Eater whatever maps, I'm like, well, here I'm going to go clicking around this to get upset about. But I would like an app that had your map on it, a map app. That would be make it so. I know you say this is a lot of work already, but turn it into an app.
This is what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to have like a master map, and then I want to have people be able to enter their own notes into it just privately for themselves, so they can keep track of what they're doing. People love that too. They love keeping track. Apparently this can't be done. Apparently I am a tech genius who is so forward thinking that like this hasn't even been invented yet, but that is what I want.
Well, for a while we were hoping to go to every donut place in Los Angeles County, and we gave up on that very quickly because it's impossible.
Yeah.
Do you think this is possible?
Yeah, it's possible. It'll take over your life. I'm also not sure that I think that's the best use of your time, only in that I don't know that donut recipes can be all that different.
I agree. I that's kind of why we lost interest, I think, is because 9 out of 10 were fine. And then, 8 out of 10 were fine. 1 was bad. 1 was a little bit better. Like, that's how it would go.
That makes a lot of sense.
We were grading a lot of them on like, ooh, the dining area is nice.
Yeah.
I was going to say you could do that too, like donut shop vibes because they're like I once took like Spanish lessons in a donut shop.
Oh,
yeah,
show off.
And there's also I know there's like old dudes like playing dominoes,
Yeah.
old ladies playing mahjong. Like you could do like what is the scene here? Treat it like a new wave, third wave coffee shop.
Oh yeah,
it's
No,
like
New Wave. This one is they're going to be playing New Order all the time.
I mean, I would like
I would
that
like
myself.
Which donut shop feels most like an Edward Hopper painting? Let's do that.
God, that would be good. I would go there so fast if someone told me which donut shop that was.
There's no doors or window.
Yeah.
Well, no open windows at least.
Sometimes you want to feel depressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's why you go to a donut shop at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You're guaranteed to feel depressed.
God, I remember one time getting so furious. I am a person who gets mad when people are wrong on the internet, and it's a real problem because I can't let it go. But I remember some interaction once where some guy was like, noir was created in LA. Yeah, right. And I just wanted to burn everything down because I was like, you don't understand how depressed LA is. Like, get it together. The sunshine is a lie.
Yeah, we were actually in we were on Rodeo Drive yesterday. I don't want to brag. I didn't go into any stores. I don't want to brag, but there was
I couldn't find parking and I left, not to brag.
Yeah, I was kicked out of every store because I have holes in my shoes.
Pretty Woman style.
Yeah. But there's like a facade for like a Cartier store like on Rodeo Drive, and we walked around the corner and it was literally just a pit of debris behind this wall. And I was like, yeah,
that's me.
Look at this metaphor, tourists. Get a load of this.
Yes, exactly. Man, this goes back to what we were saying earlier about how LA is like so hard to visit. Because imagine, I think especially if you're from a foreign country and you're like, what to do in Los Angeles? And every guide's going to be like, go to Beverly Hills. Go to Rodeo Drive, which I think is just about the least interesting place. When I think of Beverly Hills, I think doctor's offices. Yeah. And we're sending all of our tourists there. Like,
well, everyone wants their free healthcare that we have here in Los Angeles, right? What would you... Okay, so I was trying to figure out how to phrase this question, but what is LA's food reputation, would you think? Because like I'm trying to think of like... Because I can't even define what the reputation, like New York, I don't mean like, oh, tacos, but like New York, you can't avoid thinking about pizza. But when I think about New York food, I think a lot, like food everywhere.
Right.
And also like you can get it anytime, anywhere is sort of a reputation too of New York.
Yeah.
That's not true in LA.
So yeah, we are definitely like an early to bed, early to rise city for sure. We are not trying to stay out late. I think I imagine that I am surrounded by people who care about food, or will at least pretend to like have conversations with me. Because I do think there's like two camps in the world. There are people who like, I mean, Jonathan Gold had, even if they don't know the name Jonathan Gold, he had such a big influence on teaching people like that LA is the best food city. And people, I think, are like understand that on a certain level. Like we've got food from like almost every country. It's great. There's people who know that the Chinese food in the San Gabriel Valley might actually be the best Chinese food in the world. So there are people who are like, okay, like LA is a food city. I also know that there are still people who believe the stereotype that Angelinos do not eat, which is so weird to me. I suppose maybe that could have been a thing in like the 60s and 70s with starlets talking about grapefruit diets. But
Woody Allen's bean sprout sandwich or alfalfa, whatever. Yeah.
That's just not the case at all in Los Angeles. You guys know that, but like people here eat.
Yeah, but
in troughs.
By the way, Greg, I was referencing Annie Hall. You gave me a weird look when I brought up Woody Allen's alfalfa sandwich.
I thought he was a chef now.
Yeah, he haven't been to Woody Allen's alfalfa sandwich shop. Because that's another thing. Like in Chicago, I feel like the reputation is, they eat huge meals all the time.
Right.
But I don't know. Yeah, you know what? You're right. I feel like that is the reputation of LA. Like, healthy, kale, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I do remember.
It's true sometimes, but not.
I remember, God, this must have been like 2009. So it's a while ago. It's a grocery store chain. I think it was called like Fresh and Easy. It was an Aldi offshoot.
The like pre-made stuff.
Yeah. And The Guardian wrote an article about how embarrassing it was that this new British grocery chain had come to LA and was misunderstanding the market because their opening deal was like a lasagna, a bagged salad, and garlic bread. Like that was their deal. And it was like any Angelino would ever eat that. And I was like, what are you talking about? That is a regular ass dinner that anyone would eat.
Yeah.
The writer of that got some pushback. So that's why I know that there's like some who know and some who don't know. But, I'm such an LA cheerleader. I just have to say that even the like alfalfa sandwich that they make fun of in Annie Hall, that restaurant was a real restaurant. It was called The Source, and it was opened and run by a cult. And there's a lot of overlap between LA's food scene and all the very many cults that have started here. So like all our food is interesting.
I know. We covered them in an episode a while back. And when I got to the point of like, this is the Annie Hall restaurant, it was so, and now it's a pink taco or Cabo Wabo or something.
Right. Yeah, this city's so interesting, just not in a way that like is immediately apparent, is my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like the whole, drinking juices and those mushrooms that make you really smart sprinkled on kale is your lunch. Like, I feel like that sort of stereotype or reputation is the same of people saying, the people who put down LA of like, everyone's vapid, everyone's this.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's the same sort of misconception.
It's the same arm of that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you go to Erewhon, and people who like follow celebrity news know what Erewhon is, it's like the grocery store for getting your smoothies and your juices. But if you actually look at what people are buying there, everyone's lined up at the deli counter buying like breakfast burritos and pizza. So.
Yeah, I was, that almost, now I guess people do this everywhere, but I feel like a lot of like the hot bar at an Erewhon or a Whole Foods or even Ralph's or something, I feel like is something people eat a lot in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I don't know if it's got to be less than New York, because like the thing is, New Yorkers like don't have kitchens. Like kitchens are hard to come by. I think we cook more in LA, but I think it's Erewhon, the one in Silver Lake is the only one I've been to. It cracks me up because they have the most beautiful produce section I've ever seen in my entire life. Not a fruit out of place. And I think it's because no one actually buys any of it.
No one's touched them since 1998.
Exactly.
There's just rotten fruit everywhere.
Yeah, it's like it's artistic. It's beautiful. Don't touch it is the vibe that I get.
Yeah, I love going to Erewhon. Like, I've never bought anything at an Erewhon, but I love going in there because it's like a museum. Like it's like a rich people museum. It's so weird who you see in there and what people are like. Why would you buy this?
I lied. I have been to the one by the Grove because I bought camel milk there.
Oh, camel milk.
So that was neat.
Ew.
Yeah, it's not great, but they have it.
I didn't even know you could. I mean, this is Meet the Parents all over again. But I didn't know you could milk a camel. I guess.
Well, they're mammals.
I guess. Was it good? Was it sour or?
It was like, that Barney taste that you can get.
Barney,
from,
the dinosaur? You can milk him too?
No. Tastes like a barn. Like you can.
Oh.
You really get the desert, like the hay.
Right, the taste
in
of
there.
the desert.
Yeah. They don't produce a lot of milk, which is why it's not like one of the world's milking animals. It was, and it was I think it was like a pint that costs $26, which now is like what everything costs. But this was like 10 years ago.
Did you lose a bet?
No, I was doing a segment on alternative milks.
Oh, okay. What is the best milk?
Camels are famously stingy with their liquids.
They are. They don't want you to have it. They're like, you have gotten enough from us. Get off. The best milk?
The best milk.
Dude, I'm actually like...
I gotta know.
I laugh about how ridiculous this question is. I also really want to know.
No, okay. I'm working on an episode about this because this is a topic that fascinates me. But I would say, and I don't know what kind of caveat to put before this. Please just keep listening as I say it. Don't turn off your radio, your podcast immediately. But it's raw cow's milk. I'm not telling people to drink raw milk because the idea of influencing anyone towards that scares me, even though there are so many influencers on TikTok who clearly are getting paid, but don't disclose
cows.
it. No, so I've been researching this for personal and professional reasons, and all these it's kind of like the raw meat guys, and then also like the trad wife homesteader lady types.
Yeah.
They'll always be like, raw milk is so healthy, and then they will go through the exact same bullet points in the exact same order. So that's why I know for a fact, even though they're not disclosing it, that they are doing paid advertising. All
You're
that
Columbo
to say,
now.
yeah, I'm Columbo. I'm food Columbo.
Just one more thing.
Yeah, exactly. It does taste really good. I actually it's what we drink in my household, but that's because my boyfriend has this weird allergy where he can't have pasteurized dairy products.
I thought you were going to say is a cow.
He is it's LA, as we've discussed. We can do what we want. No, it is good. It's illegal in a lot of states to have. Maybe that's what makes it taste good.
the crime.
Felony. Ooh.
Is it legal? That's what I was going to ask. Is it legal in California?
It is. You cannot. So all throughout the United States, you cannot take raw dairy across state lines unless it is to take to a pasteurizing plant. So you can't take it for retail sales across state lines. In California, it is completely legal. There's different laws in different states. In some states, you can only sell it as pet food. So anyone who wants raw dairy has to go to a pet store and buy their dairy products there. And there's kittens and puppies on the labels. They're like, hey, this is just for pets. And everyone knows that's not true.
And you're holding a box of Captain Crunch.
Exactly. So yes, it is legal.
I had an opportunity in another country to try. They had a raw milk vending machine. And I was like, where else am I going to get raw milk? But I was too scared to.
What country was it?
It was in Slovenia. Because I figured, especially a vending, it's already kind of, I'm scared because of whatever risk there is with raw milk. And now it's a vending machine giving it to me.
I was going to say, yeah, it's the vending machine part of it that makes me nervous. Because they got to be cleaning that thing 3 times a day for me to feel comfortable.
They're not. No way they were.
Really?
Was it a button when you go to a fountain drink at a fast food place?
Yeah.
Sprite,
you can combine
Pepsi.
it.
It tastes like bubble gum. I got Mr. Pibb and raw milk.
Nice.
So now I want to ask even more specific food questions. What do you think that the best restaurant in LA is?
Man, don't ask me that.
I know. I knew it was hard, but wait till I get to the next one, which you don't even have to answer. Yeah.
There is no best restaurant in Los Angeles. We could do traditional metrics and just say.
Let me change it to what your favorite is, maybe.
Okay, my favorite. Even then, I'm well, depends on what you're looking for. Yeah. There's a couple dim sum restaurants. I really like Lunasia and Longo in the San Gabriel Valley because I love the dim sum experience and the food. When it comes to pizza, my 2 favorites are Desano in East Hollywood and Prime, which has 6 locations. Prime, I've only ever gotten delivery, I think. So that's just a taste thing. It's not an experience thing. What I'm about to say, the chef and then the co-owner, the chef has been a little bit canceled. The co-owner was entirely canceled. But turns out everyone is cancel worthy. So I don't know what to do about that at this point.
Then don't go to Woody Allen's alfalfa sandwich
don't
restaurant.
go there. I would say don't go there. I really I think Pizzeria Mozza is a really great encapsulation of Los Angeles. The food is good. The pizza is kind of traditional, but also they put their own speed on it. The food is good. The food is really good. And it still is, which is surprising because it's been open for 15 years, I think. You will see a celebrity there anytime you go there to eat. So that's always fun for everybody. The music is too loud, which is annoying, but it's yep, this is what we do.
we can't turn it down.
We can't.
Forgot.
We can't. Yeah. And the service is like very Angelino, where it's like so informal. You don't know if it's good service or not.
They sit down next to you to take your order, and you're
exactly.
like, "Oh, do you live here now?"
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that's among my favorites. Having said that, like Nancy Silverton says, unchill things sometimes, and Mari Batali is not cool. But again, what chef is these?
But see, I've been to Pizzeria Mozza. Mm-hmm. And while I didn't like it that much, I recognize that if there is a quote unquote Los Angeles pizza, that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think it's like, it's kind of Italian, but it's kind of its own thing. And they're not, it's not like they're confused, which a lot of pizza places, like every pizza place is like, it's Neapolitan. Like, well, it's not, but whatever. But like Mozza knows what they're doing. They know the ways in which they've like made the dough and the toppings different. So, and Osteria Mozza right next door is like, I think a lot of people might say that's a better restaurant because it's upscale, but like, no, not in LA terms. Like a fancy restaurant is a different thing.
Right. Have you had masa pizza?
I have. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, they're famous for their deep dish, which is just real overwhelming to me. So.
Yeah.
See, I maintain that they might be my favorite pizza place in Los Angeles, and I am by no means like I only eat deep dish pizza, but like I feel like they are the best just pizza I've had in LA, and there's pretty good pizza these days.
There definitely is.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing too that's a little bit has always been a question for me about like being a restaurant critic, because I firmly believe that everyone has their own taste buds. So that's maybe why I like kind of want to tell you about like the history of this restaurant or this place, or like why sushi is like integral to LA. It's like, well, because you're gonna taste something and you're gonna like it or not. Like I can't change your mind about that.
Right.
Yeah.
There's some places that I do not understand what people like about them. And I have to come to terms with, well, they like different food, but I'm not going to come to terms with that. But it just like some people just rave about a place and I don't get it.
Like what?
I'm thinking of, well, I guess now we'll call out names, but there's this Mexican place in the Valley called La Fogata that, Greg, we've eaten there together, I think. It's right near the old Corky's, or maybe the only Corky's.
Right.
It's on Van Nuys and Magnolia or something. But I've tried it like 3 times, really wanting to like it, because other people whose opinions I respect are like, this is my favorite Mexican place. And it's so bad.
Is it old?
It's not real. It's an order at the counter place. It's kind of old, but it's not like, it's not like Casa Vega, which is also bad.
But that's what I was going to say. The food is not the point at Casa Vega. Yeah. I think we all know that. I was just going to say, I've never heard of this place. I asked if it was old because like nostalgia is, you can't say anything about nostalgia. So
it's old, but I don't think it's a place where people were like, my grandmama used to take me to La Fogata. Like, I think it's probably been there for 60 years, but like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
These things happen.
Tell me why. So now the even harder question, which you don't have to answer this because you're a professional. I don't even know if I want to ask it, but are there any places, maybe you don't have to give names, that you think were just like, this is awful? Like, why do people like this? Or are you more forgiving than I am?
I think I'm certainly not a forgiving person. I want to be clear about that. I am mean. I am tough. Like, I brook no nonsense. But I think because like writing about food has been like my life's calling, apparently, I do look at like the full context. Like if there's places like, of course I'm forgetting the name of it.
Casa Vega.
No.
La Fogata. Just gonna name all the places I hate.
The Ivy. That's what I meant. And even like the grill off the alley, I think it's called, which I think has multiple locations maybe around the country. But there are certain places that it's like, no, the food is not good. And it also costs $1 million. It's so confusing. However, I get that it is a business meeting place. Like where every item on the menu, like what it is. You're not going to embarrass yourself by ordering something and being like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. It's sceney, and like a lot of people's business life is based on like seeing and being seen. So it's like, I don't need to go to the Ivy. And another thing where like tourists go there and like, yeah, maybe you will see a celebrity, but honestly, it's mostly going to be agents and producers who are richer than you can even conceive of if you don't know their names.
They live in Hancock Park.
Yeah. Do you know what that means?
Yeah. So I don't know. There's like usually something about a place that I understand why it's held in esteem.
I was actually being in Beverly Hills yesterday. I don't want to brag, but I was in Beverly Hills yesterday again. But
where the hillbillies live?
Yeah, there's oil everywhere. It got me thinking about like these people who go to these restaurants where it's like $500 a person for lunch, and they like make a point to go there. Like, do these people even like food, or do they just like spending money?
I don't think so. I secondhand, I'm going to keep it real vague. I secondhand heard a story about some people who used to work together in a very lucrative industry, and they all happened to be in LA at the same time. So they decided to go to dinner, and they went to Giorgio Baldi, which I think is in Brentwood. Most places like that, I'm like, it must be Brentwood. I don't know what I'm talking about. But Brentwood to me is like a certain kind of place.
Yeah.
And they spent like $500 a person on like an extremely mediocre meal. But I don't think that they noticed it was mediocre.
Right.
Because the thing is, you are at Giorgio Baldi and you're there the same night that Timothy Chalamet is there. Like, doesn't get any better than that. Right?
I eat celebrity appearances.
Yeah. It's what sustains you.
You paid to get a picture with Timothy Chalamet way in the background is what you paid for. The fact that there's restaurants whose names I don't even know, that they're so exclusive and expensive that I don't even know what these words are is crazy.
Yeah, you say that, but yeah, they're so expensive and exclusive, and that's why you don't know it. I'm guessing you also are not a regular reader of Us Weekly, and I don't mean that in a judgmental way.
How
people
dare
who read Us
you?
Weekly. It's just like, though readers of Us Weekly know what Giorgio Baldi is, because it's where all the pap shots are taken. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't know. I've seen Timothy Chalamet at La Fogata a few times.
And for so much cheaper.
He ordered $500 worth of food at La Fogata. Okay, so when this episode comes out, and even now that we're recording it, Thanksgiving is coming. Mm-hmm. What would you say is a good place for people if they want to go out for Thanksgiving or near Thanksgiving? Because I know, Greg, you have an opinion on this.
I do.
Or maybe not. Maybe not.
Is it my Clifton's opinion?
Yes, it is your Clifton's opinion. Well, you've heard the opinion. So now what's your opinion, Catherine?
I don't go out on Thanksgiving.
But if you're really sad like Greg, what do you recommend?
Well, I mean, in that case, like Clifton's is closed right now, but a place like Clifton's is perfect. If you're going to be sad on a holiday, fucking lean into it. I once spent a Christmas at the Drawing Room. You guys know the Drawing Room?
I do know the Drawing Room.
I was like, you know what? You gotta go hard. You're going to be like weird and alone on Christmas. Go to the worst dive bar in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Sure enough, it was packed. Everyone was miserable. At midnight, someone brought a ham. Like, I was like, this is the best experience I could have imagined.
Those are lyrics from a Tom Waits song.
Yeah. They just threw it into the crowd and everyone
basically
tore it apart.
Yeah.
This will make me happy.
Yeah.
One time, Greg, I don't remember when we did this, but we went to the Talleyrand once in Burbank and got Thanksgiving dinners. It was not on Thanksgiving, but it was near Thanksgiving, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember what we were doing either. Being sad somewhere together. Yeah.
Well, if you don't go on the holiday, like for instance, I love going to Tam O'Shanter between Thanksgiving and Christmas because they put up all the it's like a East Coast Christmas, a British Christmas. You know, like we don't get a lot of that in LA. And that's also another great thing about LA. There are 100-year-old restaurants that you can still go to. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm generally speaking anti-dining out on holidays. Like pro tip, do not go to a restaurant on Valentine's Day. Are you fucking kidding? Don't do that.
No,
well, you're ruining everyone's life.
And also, don't buy flowers for anybody. No cards, no gifts. Come on.
Turn your phone off. Just relax. Be in the moment.
Yeah. Be really cold and standoffish.
God. Valentine's Day is the meanest holiday. It's just cruel. I hate it so much.
So I want to know what your favorite local specialty of Los Angeles is. And to get the ball rolling, I kind of want to say lately, I mean, I'm discounting tacos because that's,
that's what I was going to say.
Okay, you can have tacos. But I'm starting to think that maybe the Orange Bang, which was created here, is like one of the best locals, which they're, if drink half of one and you don't need one for a year, but they're pretty good and unique, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I do love our tacos, and people come from other parts of the United States and eat from a taco truck here, and they're like, "Why are they so tiny?" It's like, no, that's how they're supposed to be. You don't know shit.
The big ones are weird.
Yes, exactly. So I do like that we have that. I like that, it's so easy to get good food here. Like the taco trucks, not all of them, but there are some taco trucks that are like, "Are you kidding me? This costs $2 and it's like the best thing I've had in 6 months." Like, so I think we're really lucky to have that.
We are like, that is our pizza in New York sort of thing. Cause there's so like there's this stretch on, oh God, it's in like Pacoima, but there's just like a giant block that has like 12 different taco stands on it. And they're all right, like shoulder to shoulder and all selling out of their meat every single night.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's so cool. And sometimes like there will be a churro stand next to them and they like extrude to order. And it's like, yes, better than Disneyland.
And that says it on the sign and it sounds delicious. I mostly go to like what I look for in taco stands is the salsa. Like I'm always on the hunt for the best salsas. And when they don't have one, self-service salsa, and two, if the salsa's watered down, which a lot of places are kind of doing right now because of money or whatever.
Yeah.
That's so disappointing to me.
I've seen you throw a fit before at Leo's Tacos because of the salsa stand. You were like, I don't even want to eat it anymore. Like you were mad.
What do I do with this thing?
Those salsas don't joke around though. I sometimes go salsa less because they are so spicy.
Yeah, some of them I've learned to avoid any habanero salsa if I have work the next morning because there's something about the skin of a habanero. Like I can handle like salsas that are hotter of different chilies, but for whatever reason, the skin of a habanero is like that my week is over.
No, well, at least you know that.
Yeah, but I still do try it.
Yeah. There's also lots of, tacos included, I suppose, but there's lots of things that LA is really good at that technically like aren't American, which like American, what the fuck does that even mean? Like truly, but like,
whoa, let's not go putting down America here.
Oh, his American flag drops behind him.
Yeah.
Didn't you see my backdrop?
But like Korean barbecue.
Oh yeah.
Like obviously started in Korea, but so many Korean people came to the US that a lot of the elements of Korean barbecue are from LA.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool. Like, go
cool.
us. I like that.
Koreatown is worst parking in the city, but such an exciting part of town, food wise, and just like people out doing stuff.
I really feel like it's the only part of Los Angeles that feels like a city.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I absolutely agree.
See, but that goes back to the New York thing. It's because like there's old buildings around, but there's also just people out at night and so much food everywhere. That's why it feels like a city to me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then you're walking around, you're like, oh, RFK got shot here, and then you just keep eating.
I know. Yeah.
And that's how we got Korean barbecue. Someone asked us this once, but I'm going to ask you, what do you think is like a food thing that LA is known for that most people aren't aware of that are visiting? Like for what I came up with when we were asked that is the like little charbroiled burger places that are all around, like especially in like the South Bay. And that's not really like people don't come to LA like I'm going to go to Tom's number 8. But that's there's such a big culture of that here.
Yeah. And once again, I feel like context is everything because I feel like there'd be a lot of people who would come and go to one of these dingy burger places and being like, I don't get what the big deal is. And I'd be like, leave California right now. How dare you? But it's just like, they're so interesting. I remember the driving around LA before I moved here, just like trying to figure out the city and being like, all these fast food, like independent fast food places say burgers, tacos, pastrami. What is that combination?
Yeah.
And then you like read about the history of Boyle Heights and you're like, oh my God, this is fascinating. Like there's so much that's cool. And then also I think this is a toughie because there's really good Armenian food in Los Angeles, but hardly any of those restaurants are called Armenian. And there's all kinds of horrible reasons for that. So like, again, like to understand what you're eating, you have to like know. No. the Armenian, like Lebanese food scene, you don't have to know anything to know that it's delicious. But I feel like it like kind of gives you a full picture when you understand why there's all these Armenian and like Georgian dishes on Lebanese menus. So
yeah, there's a lot of even like I love Little Ethiopia so much, but like I don't know how many tourists are going to visit Little Ethiopia when they come to Los Angeles.
Yeah, and this is God, so I live in Silver Lake right by Sunset Junction, and this sounds like I'm making some sort of joke when I say this, but I swear to God, weekends are full of French people here. It is wild. You just walk down the street and you hear more French than anything else. And this has been going on for years. And I've always just been like, which French influencer or maybe even like French Lonely Planet is like telling the entire country that Silver Lake is the place to be. I live here and I like appreciate like what it has to offer. But at the same time, I'm like, no, I don't want you to be going to the Silver Lake Farmers Market and being like, oh, I went to one of LA's farmers markets. No, you're not in Pasadena, Hollywood, or Santa Monica. Get lost. You're getting like the worst of LA. And that bums me out because I don't think people outside of LA are presenting LA as an interesting place.
Yeah.
This brings up another point that bothers me sometimes is that to bring it back to the Valley, so many food like LA Magazine and that sort of stuff, like they refuse to go to the Valley. And then one person goes to one restaurant in the Valley and is like, this is the best restaurant in Los Angeles. And then everyone goes to this one restaurant that's just okay. But that's the only restaurant that this person with influence tried in the Valley. And that always makes me so angry to like these small places that like, this is way better.
It's so tough.
Like La Fogata.
Yeah, I know that like I am trying really hard to get like a good geographic spread on how to eat LA. But so one thing is that like it just is hard to drive an hour.
Yeah,
like
it is.
I drive an hour and then an hour back in the hopes that like this rib I heard about is like as good as people said it is, and I'm going to be able to write about it.
Right.
Or because I try and find places that aren't written about, I'm like, well, I just like saw this when I drove past one day, so I'm going back again. Like, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Such a bummer. That might honestly be like the extremely mundane reason why places in like the edges of the county don't get covered as much.
I'm complaining about this, but at the same time, I'm sure people in Claremont or whatever are, when I'm like, this one place in Claremont is the best place. I'm not, because I'm driving to Claremont once a year, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. It's tough. And then there are some places too that don't have the concentration of good restaurants that other areas have.
Yeah, true. They don't have that walking traffic. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it's also like the whole like South LA, all the issues there, and people don't open restaurants there as frequently as they do in other areas.
Yeah.
So they kind of are few and far between, which is so unfair because real estate and all that kind of stuff is all about perception, blah, blah, blah. Like, so. Yeah.
And this goes back to what you were saying, why it's so hard to tell people to visit LA, because everything's so spread out that when you tell someone to visit, like kind of just stay in San Gabriel Valley. Like if you stay in that, you'll have a good time, or stay in the Valley, but just stay. Like if you try to do too much that's too far spread out, you're going to have an awful time because you're just going to spend your time in traffic the whole time.
Yeah. I was on the subway once and some tourists were like, how do we get to the farmer's market? And I was like, okay, first of all, like, well, we're going to, like, I need to have a full conversation with you before I can answer that because, like, okay, what do you mean by farmer's market? Because that's like, I think you mean the one at 3rd and Fairfax, but what if you don't? And I don't want to lead you astray.
There's a farmer's market and the farmer's market. Which one are you going to?
Yes. You gotta be real clear. And if they're foreign, they might not know the difference between and the. So,
it's hard to recommend things to people in Los Angeles at all because people ask us a lot, like, what should I do with this? But like, it really does depend so much on what the hell you're looking for out of this city.
I don't know what to say to people when they're like, what's a good place to go? I'm like, well, it's an extremely spread out place with like at least 8 million people in it. Do you have a car? Like, it's just, no, you have to give me so much information.
Yeah.
Question.
You got to go to Giorgio Borgio or whatever.
Giorgio Borgi. Everyone goes to Giorgio Borgi.
Just keep circling Brentwood and you'll find it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, these are the only last couple things I have to ask, but just to ask you about your podcast, Smart Mouth, and just where everybody can find everything that you do.
I can't decide if I should list everything or just like one thing because it's overwhelming. So assuming that your audience is mostly Angelinos, I'm going to say go to...
Or obsessed with Los Angeles.
Right. Either way. Yeah. howtoeatla.com. It's a website, but I send everything out over email. So it's like a newsletter too. And you can sign up and there's different tiers, including free. I also do some of my stuff on TikTok as well. And I'm just on TikTok and Instagram at Katherine Spiers. Look at the show notes to see how to spell my last name because no one spells it right.
It's not what you think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so howtoeatla.com and then Katherine Spiers on social media.
All right. Do you have any more questions, Greg? Because I'm all tapped out on my sprawling list.
I'm also tapped out. But if you're driving and you can't sit and read her wonderful blog, you could listen to Miss Spiers' podcast as well.
Yes. So it's Smart Mouth and it's food history and it's not LA specific. But each episode I usually have a guest and it's like a deep dive on the history of one particular dish or food item. I like doing it.
Well, thank you for joining us on this.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm looking forward to that app of where I should eat it all. And every single place in the valley will be on there, of course.
Yep, I am looking forward to it as well.